In this video, we're going to use the given triangle to find sine of x, cosine of x, and tangent of x. And x is the angle that you see right here marked with red. So it's that particular angle that we're going to find all of these things from its perspective. The side lengths are a, b, and c. We don't have any numbers here, but it doesn't really matter. When we're figuring out the ratio of side lengths, we can just say a or b or c, whichever one is appropriate for what we're doing. So if you have numbers, definitely use numbers, but if you don't, you can still solve these problems because the sine of theta, or in this case the sine of x, is just going to be the ratio of the opposite to the hypotenuse. So let's go ahead without further ado, and sine of x, you can see on the right-hand side we have sine theta, cosine theta, and tangent theta defined. This, of course, is probably not going to be given to you on a test, so you need to memorize this. But it's defined over there for theta, but our theta, which is just the variable that's used for an angle, is x. So from the perspective of x, we're interested in the opposite over the hypotenuse. So the opposite of x is just going to be the side that's directly across from the x, whatever the angle is. So it's going to be a in this case, and the hypotenuse is going to be, of course, the longest side, or the one across from the right angle, and that's going to be b. And so, of course, we can't simplify this, so sine x is equal to a over b, and that's our answer for that one. Let's do the same thing with cosine x. So for cosine x, we're interested in the adjacent over the hypotenuse. So the adjacent side to our angle x that's not the hypotenuse is going to be c. So c right there, it's this one right here. And that's going to be c over the adjacent over the hypotenuse, which again is going to be b. And again, we can't simplify, so we're just going to say that c over b is the answer. So finally, let's go ahead and do tangent x. So for tangent x, we're interested in the opposite over the adjacent. And so the opposite side of x is going to be, again, a. So we'll go ahead and say a right there. And the adjacent side, as we noted in the cosine, is going to be c. And so a over c is going to be our value, or the ratio that expresses the tangent of x. And again, we can't simplify. You always want to look to see if you can cross something out on top and bottom or simplify a fraction if you have numbers. But in this case, we just write what we've got. So that's all you have to do. I would just say the biggest thing is just be sure that you do everything from the perspective of the angle, in this case x, that you're given.